And it's funny because I know my boyfriend and I know myself. And between the two of us, honestly, I have more red flags than he does. He's like almost a saint, but not really. But, I'm worse. And so I was like so scared to do the self assessment, but I did. And I confirmed that I am way crayer than he is because it said run away. And I'm like, oh
Put the phone down, put it back in your pocket so he doesn't see it.
Hello, hello. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to the Kathy the Panda podcast. I'm your host, Kathy, your friendly neighborhood bipolar girl just finding her way through life. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, leave a 5-star rating, and drop a comment on whichever platform you're on. Okay, so dating is already hard enough. We know that. But today we are talking about something that makes it even more complicated, staying safe while doing it. Because somewhere between, the awkward first messages and the butterflies, a lot of us have ignored the gut feeling, brushed off a red flag, or, simply did not know what to look for until it was already too late. So today's guest knows this problem on a deeply personal level and decided to do something about it. My guest today is Justin Smith, a Tampa based entrepreneur and the founder of the Cray App, the dating safety app born out of a devastating personal experience. After being blindsided by a partner of 8 years, a betrayal that nearly destroyed him, Justin spent the next 18 months rebuilding himself and creating a tool to help others avoid the same fate. Cray is the world's first app that gets at the root issue of dating safety by teaching people what red flags to look out for and, more importantly, why those red flags matter. So it checks for red flags, bad intentions, catfishing, and even legal history all in one place. So, yeah, super exciting. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You took the introduction and told my whole story. It was great. Thank you.
I know there's so much more that we'll find out during this conversation. And so let's get to it. So, you described kind of like almost dying after your 8-year relationship ended in betrayal. I'm sure that was very difficult. It was such a hard time in your life. But, can you take us into what that experience was actually like?
Yeah, the way I try and sum it up was it was almost like being snatched from the planet and thrown on a whole new planet. Because one day I just woke up and my life was a lie. I mean, everything that around me, my partner of 8 years, had planned years in advance to, take money from me or try to. And she transferred tens of thousands of dollars in the days prior to her blowing up the marriage. She sent 16,000 to her mom a month before blowing up the marriage and 10,000 to herself 3 days before blowing up the marriage. And so once I realized that, I was like, holy crap, this has to be some sort of plot. Because what this woman in 8 years has never transferred herself $10,000, and then she does 3 days before she blows up a marriage. And so I started lifting up rocks, kind of looking, and it was like, oh my God, this was a woman who spent the prior year trying to get the house titled in her name and all these other things. And it just became very clear that this was a multi-year plot to try and,
Yeah.
steal money from me and take my financial stability away. And once I realized that, it was like a nightmare. It was like waking up in a nightmare and realizing that you're married to an enemy. Your family loves this enemy and they're trying to destroy you. It was a terrible feeling.
Imagine. Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so when I was really dealing with it, I had blood pressure of 180 over 120 for 2 to 3 months straight. I had a resting heart rate of 100 beats per minute. I lost 40 pounds in 2 months, and I was having suicidal thoughts. So I checked myself into a treatment center to recover. And that's where I really started psychoanalyzing my ex and what led to a lot of our relationship problems. And that's when the red flags started popping up and the idea of Cray and creating this app. Because I realized that I was in a position to kind of fix this. You know, I'd
Yeah.
developed an app that was the first concussion recognition app for the iPhone back in 2011.
Yeah.
So it was something I was comfortable and familiar with. So I really, leaned into that and
Yeah.
crying yourself to sleep at night and finding purpose in what was happening was a great, a great thing for me. It helped me recover, and now I spend my days trying to protect the world from people like that, which is great.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So you mentioned about like in hindsight, you realized that she obviously had planned all this. She couldn't have just woken up one day and decided, oh, I'm gonna take this money. It was premeditated. It was like really planned out. Now looking back, were there red flags that you missed or you feel like you kind of, ignored throughout that relationship?
Yeah, the ones I like to lean back on in these interviews is, when people don't validate your experience, that is a huge one for me because your partner is there to support you, or they should
Yes.
be. And so if you're with a partner who doesn't validate your feelings, is dismissive of the pain and suffering you're feeling, you're not going to be in a good relationship. And after 8 years, you're going to feel like a shell of yourself because the message that you get throughout that time is you're not important, your needs don't matter,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people don't pay attention to the little things along the way like that speak to a larger issue. Because, like, if you come home upset from work and you're complaining about that person that is such a pain in the ass, and your
Yeah.
spouse is like, well, what did you do to cause that? Instead of saying, oh my God, that's terrible. How
Yeah.
awful. I mean, those are two very different experiences. And so I
Yes.
think people should really pay attention to those kinds of things that pop up. I mean, I missed them throughout the relationship, and looking back on it, it was like, my God, like this was not a cheerleader. This was someone who was here to like undermine the foundation of who I was.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, that's terrible. Um, so I love the fact that you took, this difficult time in your life and you used that to kind of fuel yourself to make a change, not just in your own life, but you're touching the lives of many different people through your app. Now, I was just curious, what was the process of building Cray actually was like over those 18 months? Like, did you actually have, say, a background in software development, or was it all like an idea that you thought of and you just kind of like outsourced, how to create the actual app?
Yeah, so I my undergraduate degree is in multimedia design. So I lucked
Okay.
out that I'm naturally a digital artist, and
Yeah.
so on top of that, I worked in a psychological test publishing industry for 10 years. So I was
Okay.
very familiar with how tests were developed, and so as I was creating the checklist of red flags my ex had, I realized that there's other red flags out there. So let me add to that list. And then it turned into this really lengthy spreadsheet. And then I started realizing that this is really a psychological test in a way because
Yes.
you're getting at specific, traits. They're in specific domains, and you need to track these things to get a better understanding of the person you're dealing with. And so then once I built that list, I was like, well, what else is there that are entry points for bad actors to get in and cause us harm or pain? And that's when I realized, well, there's the whole deception and manipulation piece. So the first set was the Cray score. The second set was the schemer score.
Yeah.
And then I started dealing with people using texting apps instead of real numbers online. And I realized we need a tool to address that. So that was the catfish check.
Okay.
And I realized, well, crap, what about, people who have history of being sex offenders? We should have something in there for that, right? So I put that in there. And now the next thing I'm trying to work in is the background check so that people can
Yeah.
exchange proof that they do not have a criminal history to the
Right.
person that they're dating. There's a July update coming out in 4 weeks, maybe a little less, that will have a photo scan feature. You upload pictures of a profile and it'll give you a report of, is this person have Cray score elements or schemer score elements or deception elements in the photos or their dating profiles. So that's going to be one of the additions. I'm adding also in something I call the BAE score, BAE,
Okay.
and that is all the green flags to look for in a
Oh, that is
relationship.
so cool. I love
Yeah, so
that.
I'm really trying to make it this all encompassing. This is
Yeah.
what you should evaluate relationships through,
Yeah.
because people don't have that these days, especially younger generations. They're raised on iPads and technology, and
Yeah.
parents don't have those uncomfortable conversations anymore. So, this is a place to put everything all in one place so that the young generation, as soon as they leave their parents' home, has everything on their phone right at their fingertips, doesn't need to remember that course that they learned, 2 years ago or six
Yeah.
months ago. Just takes it all out of there for them.
That is so cool. So I tried the app and I'm going to tell you later about my experience with the app because when I saw you on Podmatch, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." And then I tried to look into the app and I was so happy that it was available in Vietnam. And so I tried it out and I'll tell you more about that in a bit. But since we touched on the topic of red flags, which is basically what the whole app is all about, I know you are very knowledgeable in this area of conversation. So you said that you listed down red flags from your ex and you also added red flags from others' experiences. So what can you say are the most common red flags that people overlook early in dating?
I think love bombing is a big one that gets misinterpreted as
Mm-hmm.
someone in great chemistry because when you meet someone, you don't know about all their shit in the background. You just know about
Yeah.
what's standing in front of you. And it's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this person's amazing. So I think love bombing is an entry point for manipulation because if I show up and I'm a handsome guy and I'm sitting here telling you how great our chemistry is and how amazing this is. Oh my God, we got to go on trips together. And oh, my family's going to love you. You're going to leap in thinking that guy is like all about it. And in reality, he's just saying that to, get in the front door, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it happens in a lot of different ways like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So okay, we all know that people aren't perfect, right? So I personally know I have red flags. I also know I have green flags. Like every person has their own red flags and green flags because we're not perfect. But what is the difference between a real red flag and just a normal human flaw? Because like I said again, people aren't perfect, so we all have our flaws. But where do we draw the line between, oh, that's an acceptable, forgivable flaw versus, oh, that's a non-negotiable red flag?
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you how the app interprets it because there's
Uh-huh.
two top levels, which I'm sure you saw, the runaway or the consider leaving.
Yes.
And so the criteria for those is there's a cutoff score or an immediate trigger. And when anything is either emotionally abusive, it's consider leaving immediately, automatically, boom. And
Okay.
if it's anything that's a threat to physical safety or grooming or things like that, boom, run away. There's also the buildup of scores of red flags that then create enough of a momentum to kick you up to that next level. But I would say the red flags that are the most dangerous are when people don't respect your boundaries. And because that's going to be someone who might rape you, that's going to be
Mm,
someone who might victimize you in other ways,
yes.
might treat you as their toy to damage your life for entertainment purposes. I mean, who knows?
Mm,
So I think respecting boundaries is a huge one.
yes.
Respecting consent or respecting someone's body during physical intimacy and what they're comfortable with.
Uh-huh.
Those are some big ones right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I just think that anything that risks damaging you is an immediate red flag for me. Because that
Right.
person, when you're dating them or when they show up in the relationship, they should leave you in a better position than they found you.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And so, okay. sometimes in a relationship, it's not that we ignore red flags. Sometimes we just, honestly miss them. But I want to focus more on why do so many of us see red flags but choose to ignore them anyway? Or even worse, we don't just ignore it, but we paint them green.
I think there's multiple reasons for that. I think number one, inherently, we all recognize that we are all individual snowflakes of red and green flag combinations, right? So
Yes.
inherently, we accept that the people we're dating are flawed. However, when you're in a relationship dating someone, there becomes like this sunk cost of like being with that person and the things you've built with that person and the time you've invested. And so when these other red flags show up and you think about having to throw all this away, you're like, I don't know about that. I don't know that I want to give up this whole situation and create all that trauma and trouble and the rupture and everything. So I think that's part of it is people don't want to shake up their life,
Yeah.
or it could be cognitive dissonance. Like
Mhm.
I'm a smart person. I would never choose someone so abusive. So they can't be that abusive. You know what I mean? It's like your brain tricks
Yeah.
yourself into excusing their behavior.
Right.
Or, they do something else to you, like provide you a dopamine rush. And that's what you care more about than your safety or well being.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of
Actually,
different reasons I feel like.
yeah, you're right. You're right. And so you mentioned, and I saw this on the app as well. So you have the Cray score and the schemer score. Real quick question. Is Cray like crazy or what's like behind
Well,
Cray?
so yeah, so the name is from Cray Cray, which was a way of saying crazy during the
Yeah.
90s when I was a teenager. So I took that and I ran with it because going
Okay.
back to my comment of everyone's a little bit crazy,
Yeah.
everyone's their own snowflake of crazy. So
Yeah.
Cray, everyone's a little cray, you know?
Okay.
And
Okay.
then I made the mascot into his name is Cravon
Oh,
A
his
Tension.
name. Okay.
Yeah, so it's Craven
Craven attention.
Tension. Yeah, so
That's
it's
so
like
cute.
I know. I tried to really like make this such a fun brand because to me that
Yeah.
was the way to get this to become like a thing.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
we've had hundreds of years of psychology and dating advice and all these things, and it's never stuck. No one's ever wanted to like use it or engage with it in a
Yeah.
long term meaningful way. And I felt like once I came up with the fox with the flag, people were laughing at it, and I realized then I was like, this is the angle. This is how
Yeah,
people are going to want
yeah.
to be safer and use serious tools, but in a fun way.
Yeah, you kind of like gamify it in a way. And that's really a great way for people to experience or to actually take it seriously. Cuz like trying to figure out if a person or like if a person is good for you is kind of a heavy task to do. Like it can change your life, definitely who you choose to be partnered with. And so when you think about, I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I know some people who do pros and cons lists. Like when they date multiple people, like in the early stages of dating, they're like, oh, these are the pros and cons of dating this person. These are the pros and cons of dating this person. And so you've made it so much easier for people these days, and it's scientifically backed with like psychology concepts and your own personal experience. So we don't have to kind of like ask ourselves, is that actually a pro? Is that actually a con? What makes it a pro? What makes it a con? Because yours, it's very objective. So it
Hmm.
gives people a good baseline of like, what should I look for in a relationship? And with the new addition of the green flag segment of the app, I feel like that's gonna balance it out because like we can't just focus on the bad things. Like we can also look at the good things, like, oh, why am I dating this person and whatnot. And so, sorry, I kind of moved forward there, but I was wanting to ask you, what is basically the difference of a cray score and a schemer score?
So Cray score is really red flags in the relationship, and schemer
Okay.
score is more like deception and manipulation. So, like, it's
Okay.
very common for men to be on dating apps, and a woman might match with them, and then the woman will slowly but surely try and financially manipulate the man because they're an OnlyFans girl, or
Yeah.
they have some other thing. And a young 18-year-old boy may not, recognize that that's what they're doing and that they have no care about the 18-year-old or don't consider them anyone of, concern. And so this will help protect that young group of people or the older adults that are 60 and divorcing and getting out of a,
Yeah.
long-term relationship and they don't know the online world. They don't know what's out
Yeah.
there. And so this creates kind of a safety net for people to pass these new people through so that they
Yeah.
can make sure that they're not just using them for money or for
Right.
clout or for a fun time, like it helps protect people from a different angle.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned online dating. I wanted to ask you, how has online dating, changed the safety landscape compared to dating in person or through mutual friends or what people call now like an organic encounter?
It's interesting. I was divorced before 10 years ago, about 12 years ago. And so I've seen it from when I was before that I was married then to when I got divorced the first time to now. So I've gotten like kind of three snapshots
Yeah.
and it's crazy how much it's changed. Like nowadays, it feels a lot less authentic. Like you match with someone and they match with 200 other people. They might actually message you, they might not. They might care about you, they might not. And you,
Yeah.
as a man, you spend all this time doing this, and it's very inauthentic. So that's why I wanted to create too, because it just felt like I walked back out into this environment where it's like
Yeah.
so dangerous and from your heart, from your wallet, from your mind, like all of
Yeah.
it. And so I think this is the perfect time for an app like this to exist. Back 10 years ago, not so much because online dating didn't have this huge problem it has now. You
Yeah.
could actually authentically meet people and match with people and have decent conversations back then. Not so
Yeah.
much anymore. And I feel
Yeah.
like organically meeting people is probably the best option for most people through interest groups that they're into or through
Yeah.
friends that they have mutual friends through. Just because then you get to know the person before you go out on dates and you kind of have some sort of vetting system. You might have mutual
Yeah.
interests. Whereas someone online, you think they're hot, you swipe on them because they
Yeah.
might, do something for you, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I feel like online is really just for people that either are emotionally unavailable or have trouble finding relationships through regular organic means. And
Yeah.
that creates problems too.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Um, Online dating now is a very kind of popular way where people scam each other. What are the most common scams or manipulative tactics people should be aware of when dating online? Because I just want to share with you as well. Here in Vietnam, there is a very popular scam wherein the ladies, some local ladies, would match with, travelers or foreign men on, say, Tinder or Bumble, and they actually work for certain bars. And so what they're gonna do is they're gonna
Mm.
invite this guy to the bar, and they're gonna just like order so much, and then the guy's gonna end up paying for it. And I've seen a lot of men complaining on Facebook that they've been scammed that way. And so that's one of like the most popular scams out here. So I was wondering, like, is there some sort of data that you're able to get from the app or just maybe from your experience or your friends' experience? What are the most common scams or manipulative tactics people are doing these days?
Well, in America, and I think the most common ones are I'm an OnlyFans girl and I only want to talk to you if you give me money.
Okay.
And they kind of build up a friendship very shortly to get that financial money.
Yeah.
Women also here will, some women, I don't want a blanket statement, a
Yeah.
small minority of women will do I'm getting a free dinner out of each of these guys each night of the week, so I don't have to pay for my own meals. And of course, there's the usual guys just doing what guys do. But in terms of the experience you spoke of, the thing that would come to mind for me as a traveler visiting Vietnam, if that had happened to me, would be number one, red flag, they're rushing to meet. Number two, they're trying to change up the plans or control the plans.
Yeah.
And number three, they seem very financially motivated. So
Yeah.
that would be three immense red flags right off the bat. I think as a traveler, you have to be the one to choose where to meet people because otherwise you're walking into a Venus flytrap of sorts.
Oh yeah.
And, that's going to be a bad outcome.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked about the Cray score, the schemer score. So now you also have a section in your app where you can kind of check for catfishes. So how big of a problem is catfishing really, and how can people protect themselves? Because there's so many
Well,
levels to catfishing. There's like super filtered pictures, but it's still them. And there's like the other version where they're using something completely different, like someone else's picture, and, intentionally trying to catfish a person.
yeah, it's tough. There's even people, had this happen to me where a woman had a computer software that overlaid, like it was her face,
Yeah.
like underneath it, but the computer overlaid graphics to make her look white. But she was really from China and had a thick Chinese accent. It was like crazy. Yeah, I know. My mind was blown. I was like, holy, they have this technology now? Like, what?
Yeah.
Um, but so for the catfish check, I think that the number lookup and the reason why I focus on it for the catfish check is that schemers use fake numbers and texting apps
Right.
because they have to, so they don't get tracked down by the police or some angry person who they just stole money from. So
Yeah.
they have to protect their identity. You may see them create multiple profiles on Tinder. You may see them use different numbers over the course of, weeks. They may change their pictures to very different looks of themselves so they don't get caught. There's a lot of different angles people use, and that's why
Yeah.
I felt like I had to put it all in an app so that people could have all the list of questions to filter it through so that it kind of gets ingrained in their head as they're meeting people and using it and starting to understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. And so on your app, there's also a way to check someone's legal history. Um, so I wanted to
It's a
ask
sex
you,
of
go ahead.
Yeah, it's a sex offender lookup. I had the wording was changed over the course of the last 3 to 6 months because
Okay.
it is an offender lookup, not a background check. And the background check is
I
what will
see.
be added because there's
Okay.
rules and regulations in America under the FCRA, Federal Credit Reporting Act, where people have to consent to letting someone else background check them. So that's why I'm building it in a way where someone backtracks themselves and then they share it to another person and they share it at the same time. So it
I
gets
see.
around that law or that regulation in America,
Yeah, because
uh,
it's the
but
person
it's going to be
initiated it. Yeah.
on themselves. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
a workaround.
Okay.
But sorry,
Okay.
go ahead. I just wanted to make that clarification for
Yeah.
your listeners.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. So okay, before I jump into my real question or my prior question, with the background check that you're adding to the app, will that be available in all the countries the app is available in, or is it just for the US?
I will have to look at the data supplier that we're using and see if they have records internationally. I think they might be only US, but I have to
Okay.
look and see that because right now getting the right data suppliers and the right hooks in
Yeah.
has been challenging, in and by itself because you have to find the people who even sell this information and the type of information you're looking for. And they have an API you can plug into an app, and it's a bit of a process.
Right, right. Okay. That would be so cool though if you like can do it from any part of the world. But yeah, so why is checking someone's legal history something more data should consider? Because like top of mind, if we did this in the past, you would be called, cray cray because like why are you digging into my past? Like that's so extra. Like why is it so important today to consider doing it actually?
Well, I would flip it just a little bit and say Any decision you make in your life, do you gather information before you make that decision?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think dating should be the same, where
Right.
you objectively look at, is this a person that is someone that you should be dating? And I think that with the real risks in today's world, especially of rape, all the other financial fraud and manipulation, and all the other issues, my story, especially as an example,
Yeah.
people should be, self advocates for themselves and protectors of themselves in the dating experience.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
I think that we live in a situation where it's told to us that that doesn't really matter. We don't need to. We just need to match and go out and have fun and
Yeah.
hook up or whatever else. And it's not a good formula.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, how does Cray actually work and what makes it different from other dating safety tools? Honestly, this is the first. That's why I told you when I saw your profile on Podmatch, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Because I've never heard of any other app that has, the same purpose. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're making these kinds of apps these days, which means there's an absolute need for it. So I was wondering, like, how does it actually work and what makes it different from other safety tools that are out there?
I don't think there's another safety tool like mine. I've looked around. No one has done this yet. So I copyrighted the questions, trademarked the names Cray Score and Schemer Score. And I don't
Okay.
think anyone will be able to do this because of that.
That is so
And so I
cool.
think, yeah, it creates a moat around what I've built because I'm the first one doing it. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
the closest thing that I think there is to a competitor that existed was T, but it's not the same approach as
Okay.
Cray. T was a website or an app that women and men could go on and essentially defame their ex-partner and write bad things about them
No.
publicly, but anonymously, yes. And people were doing this and just tearing other people apart. And so Cray is like the anti T. Instead of
Yeah.
this being a let's publicly shame people, this is a let's improve yourself and how you
Yeah.
approach dating and make you a more competent dater. So you just avoid all that shit.
Yeah. Also, I feel like if you were to go on a website such as that, it's like, how credible is this? Because, like, a super angry ex-girlfriend could write the worst and exaggerate everything. And so, how are you able to fact check everything, like, or are you just going to take an anonymous person's word for it? So it's not, I don't know, it's not as reliable and credible, I would say. But but yeah, no, so I tested out your app and I said earlier in our conversation that I would tell you about my experience. So um, I want to start by saying I am in a happy relationship myself, but I was so curious again about the app that I downloaded it and looked around anyway. And so I was actually impressed because there's like a self-assessment version.
Mhm.
So what I did was I did my boyfriend first. I did the Cray score check and he was, I forget the exact number, but it said to consider leaving and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh no. And it's funny because I know my boyfriend and I know myself, and between the two of us, honestly, I have more red flags than he does. He's like almost a saint, but not really. But I'm worse. And so I was like so scared to do the self assessment, but I did. And I confirmed that I am way crayer than he is because it said run away. And I'm like, oh
Put the phone down, put it back in your
I
pocket so he
know.
doesn't see it.
I was like, oh no. And then I did his schemer score. He had a very it said low risk. I think he had a score of 2. And then I wasn't able to do it for myself because it said to try again like the next day and I didn't get around to
Mm.
doing it. But I do want to check that out. But yeah, it was kind of like it was a fun experience. It was funny, but also it made me kind of think about what I'm like as a partner. And
That's why I put it in there. I'm so
yeah.
glad.
And I'm like,
Well, because
at
like,
first, yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Go. No, no, no. Go ahead. At first, what?
At first I was like, I was a little sad because I'm like, oh my gosh, all this time I thought we had like a happy, healthy relationship. And I started questioning, like, are we actually good for each other? And then I also kind of like, okay, chill, like back up a sec. And then I kind of figured that I can use these test results to be a better partner and to have a better relationship with my partner. I'm like, okay, now I know these are my red flags. And so I have to start working on these. And then maybe, when I feel like I've made progress, I can take the test again and see if I actually really did make any progress. And so, it's not the end of the world, but it just made me laugh so hard. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so far away from me.
The experience you had is exactly the experience I want, and why I put the self assessment piece in there. Because I believe that part of the problem with dating today is that people aren't honest with themselves about how they're showing up in relationships. And
Yeah.
so when you go into that conflict and there's this like, you know, repairing that needs to happen, but you're not honest about how you're showing up, are you really repairing it in a healthy way? So I think
Yeah.
that Cray can really be used by marriage counselors too to help diagnose and treat the dynamics that are going on in relationships. Because, if a marriage counselor is dealing with two people and both of them are saying they're the problem, how can
Yeah.
you objectively find out how they're showing up in the situation? Each of
Yeah.
them can score the other and score themselves, and then you have a conversation about it. And,
Yeah.
the one goal I have down the road is to create interventions for people so that when they do the self assessment, it might recommend, techniques or tools or, books they
Oh,
can
that's
read
so
to
awesome.
help heal them and fix them so they can show up better in their relationships.
That would be such a great addition. I mean, it's like a
Yeah.
one-stop shop for everything you need to have a healthy relationship. And you know what? What I just realized as I was talking about my experience with your app is that it's not just an app for people who are just dating. Like, how do I say it? Those who are starting to date. It's also an app for people who have been in long-term relationships, because like I said, it made me realize how I show up in the relationship. And it's really good information to have because it's something that now I know I can work on. And with the potential addition of, like you said, the tips and advice that you may add, it's going to be such a powerful and even more powerful tool for people to have. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that, giving people the ability to show up better and
Yeah.
become better people is what I'm all about. Like I just want to make this into a better thing where people can actually date and be in healthy relationships. Even the people that have been
Yeah.
in relationships for 10 years and are in that echo chamber of the fights that are just like, this is the thing we fight about for 10 years, like you could even come into that app and, evaluate that marriage and figure out like, hey, what is the real issue at hand? Is it really this thing that's been the stalemate for 10 years, or is it these other issues that are kind of leading into that and feeding into that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I know the answer to my next question is basically use the app because it's going to help you. But I also want to ask you, because I'm sure you might have a lot more insights. So what practical advice would you give someone who is, let's say, currently dating and unsure if they are seeing like real warning signs or if they're just kind of like, being paranoid?
And that goes back to, are you ready to be in a relationship? If your
Mm.
trauma is showing up and changing the storyline of your relationship, you're not in a place to be dating at this time. Like you
Yeah.
probably have baggage from your last relationship that
Mm.
carried over because you jumped in too soon because maybe you don't like being alone.
Yeah.
I think people being alone and working on yourself and understanding yourself and thinking about what you want, how you're going to show up, all those kinds of things are very important to ensure you end up in a good place. And so
Right.
if you're in a relationship where you aren't feeling necessarily good about it, and you're not even sure if it's you or them. Are you in a place to be dating if you're that confused about the situation? I would
Right.
wonder, if maybe they need some time to themselves to just kind of sort through themselves and figure out what they want out of life. I mean, these are major decisions and you shouldn't rush into anything. If that person is a good person, you really love them and they love you, they'll wait. They'll
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And what are your thoughts on like um so a person who has unresolved issues or trauma in the past, and they end up in the magic, and I'm just talking in a like a hypothetical situation kind of thing, but I'm actually talking about my relationship. um, so I have a lot of issues and trauma from my previous relationships. Basically, I was cheated on by all three of my exes, and so I am, in a way, kind of punishing my current partner for that. So like he doesn't feel like I trust him as much, and we have our issues. I get really jealous. I mean, I've improved a lot from when we started dating to right now. We've been dating for 2.5 years, and I am very much less jealous than I used to be. And so I was like, do you believe that even if someone still has some healing to do or some trauma to deal with, is it possible to still have a healthy relationship if their partner is willing to kind of like be a support system while they heal in the relationship? Or is that kind
Of
of like,
course.
recipe for disaster?
No, look, I think look, all of us have healing to do, and if you're in a relationship and you realize that you have healing to do, that is the first important step, is admitting it to
Mm,
yourself,
yeah.
because then that means you're being mindful and you're being present about who you are and how you're showing up. And
Yeah.
so I think it sounds like you have a very supportive, loving partner that is willing to be there for you. And I would just look at tools and techniques that could help me become more effective as a person. The thing that was really helpful for me after my trauma was DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. It's a tool set that was developed by I forget her name, Sasha. I forget her name off the hand of my head,
Yeah.
off the top of my head. But she developed a set of techniques and tools that make humans effective. So
Uh-huh.
emotional regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, dialectical thinking, which is the understanding that two opposite views can exist on the same event,
Okay.
and those different ways of teaching ourselves how to interpret the world and manage the world and react to the world, it then takes away what's called our short window of tolerance. People
Uh-huh.
who have trauma, their window of tolerance is this small and they operate in it. And when life gets too stressful and they bounce outside of that zone, they fall
Yeah.
apart. What
Right.
DBT does is it helps you increase the window of tolerance so you can
Okay.
operate in your life in a normal way, and you can
Yeah.
tolerate a lot more because now you have breathing techniques that you know to understand your somatic symptoms and use those when you start noticing your body telling your brain that something uncomfortable or bad is happening. So
Mm-hmm.
you can catch it earlier on in that dysregulation chain, and now you can be a happier and more balanced human being, and you get
Oh.
dysregulated a lot less. I did DBT for the 2 months I was in treatment, and then I also did it
Okay.
for about 18 months, a year after I left treatment. So I would do a class
Okay.
once a week with a group of people, and it was amazingly effective because these are all people healing from trauma. And
Yeah.
it's been shown that DBT is really effective for people who have borderline, or I think it's also effective for bipolar too.
Oh, that's perfect because I am bipolar. um, is this like a
CBT is also good. Sorry, cognitive behavior
I
therapy too. That's
I
another
did
great one.
I did CBT. So DBT is also facilitated by a therapist, correct?
Yes, usually it's in a group
Okay.
setting. There's a workbook that
Okay.
you do though. So the workbook you can buy on Amazon. It's called the Dialectical Behavior Therapy Handbook or Workbook, I think. It's like
Okay.
40, $50 maybe, but it's
Mhm.
a bunch of exercises that teaches you all the different techniques that you should use. there's
Yeah.
self-work in each of the sections. So you have to really analyze your life and, I'm
Yeah.
showing up in this way. This is how I should be showing up. These are the results I want, that kind of thing. So it really handholds you. She has done an amazing job. Honestly, I want to put DBT in the Cray app at some point if I can,
Yeah.
just a link or something, because it would help
Yeah.
so many people. I mean, we don't really have in our education system any sort of education around how to be an effective human being and
Yeah.
management of ourselves. And so
For
that
sure.
is a
Yeah.
big piece that's missing from our educational system.
Yeah, yeah, I believe so too. Oh, that is so cool. I'm gonna look into that, and do some healing because I want to show you. This is my Cray report, my Cray score report. Can you see it? It
Yeah, there's
says
a lot on
run
there.
away. It says run away. I was like, okay.
Did you
Um,
agree with the categories and how it showed up and sort of where the lumped categories were? Because I'm sure
yes,
you had
they
multiple
are.
items in certain subcategories.
Yeah, it is quite accurate, I would say. And some of the things I actually already knew. It's just like a confirmation for me.
Mhm.
So that's why I said when I checked my boyfriends, I was like, oh no, I know if I do it for myself, I'm gonna have way more red flags. And true enough, I did have more red flags. So I'm like, okay.
It's funny. I always frame it to people that they should score their worst ex, like their most traumatic relationship, to
Okay.
see how it would have saved them in that situation. There's even I don't know if you saw there's the vibe check, which is an in-app purchase for 99 cents,
I
but
saw
you get
that
a
little
report.
button. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get a report of the Cray score that's massaged into AI, and then it gives you a list of things to look out for over the next few weeks or months that are like, hey, this person is dangerous in these areas, and it gives kind of an action plan. So I wanted to give people a way to really dive in and have meaningful information that could help support them in making their decisions in the relationship. One of the
Yeah.
goals actually is to come out with a chat bot that is like your dating advisor. So let's say you're dating
Oh.
multiple people,
Yeah.
you can talk to them about it. And in the background, they're saving all these data points on the Cray score, schemer score, whatever else. And then you can tell them what kind of things you're looking for out of the partner you want. And then it just in the background will give you which of those people seems to line up with what you're looking for and is the
Yeah.
safest or best bet. So that's the goal down the road, is to really now take all these things I've built and just put it in a chat bot that makes it into this
Yeah.
dynamic kind of free flowing thing that people can engage with.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for your app to just grow. It's like
Thank you.
I feel like it's going to be such a useful tool for a lot of people. And so as I'm saying that, while you were talking about all these features that you plan on having for the app, I was thinking about how a lot of women here, especially in Hanoi where I'm currently based, they struggle with dating.
Mm.
um I don't want to talk shit about the men here in Hanoi, but there aren't a lot of great men here. So I feel like this is an app that a lot of people here can use, and I can bet that not a lot of people know about it. So I want to post. So we have this Facebook group called Hanoi Beautiful, where it's a group of all, not all people, like all women, but it's like an all girls group. And there's a male version called Hanoi Handsome. And I kind of want to post about the app there and see if people would download them and find it useful, because I know it will be so helpful for them. So yeah, let's see how that goes.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
appreciate the support.
of
And
course.
I don't know if you know this yet, but part of what I'm doing with Cray is baking it into colleges, so that as freshmen are coming onto the campus, they get educated on it. I've signed 12 partnerships in the last like month or two. And so that's a
Wow.
total student population of about 120,000 students. Additionally,
Wow.
I created a product that I call Cray Protected that's for bars, restaurants, and event venues, where they can put up Cray posters throughout their event to warn their not warn, but educate their customers that an app like that exists in like a nightclub or bar setting where there's a lot of bad things that might happen. And so
Yes.
it creates kind of a safety net for bars and restaurants to provide for their patrons so that, bad things don't happen to them. It even comes with drink covers so that drinks don't get spiked.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole. I told you, I'm trying to change the world. This is
That is
a
so
whole
I know,
setup.
and you will. You already have changed the lives of multiple people. I can bet my butt on that. um, are you just a thought? Are you ever considering on actually turning it as well into like a dating app where, your profile is linked to all your scores and you just kind of like exchange scores with people and see, something like that.
I think that it does seem like it would be a natural progression of the product. I will say that
Yeah.
because once I get into all the colleges and once all the college students are on it, it would be very easy to then just turn it into a safe dating platform that people
Yeah.
get to see all the bumps and bruises and you can just show yourself as who you are and people can see who you are. Like
Yeah.
I talk about my trauma very openly. I don't hide anything. And, I think it would be a lot better world if people did that, like just
Oh,
you know
yeah,
who
for
you are
sure.
dating and who is showing up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, your app is already doing wonders for the world, and I know there's still so much potential for it. So I'm really glad that I got to sit and talk with you.
Yeah.
Like they say, not all heroes wear capes, and you are proof.
Thank
um,
you.
yeah. So, Justin, this has been, such an important and genuinely protective conversation. I have a feeling a lot of our listeners are going to think differently, about their current or future relationships after listening to this episode. But before we wrap up, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with, like some final advice for, say, anyone who is actively out there dating right now and wants to do it a little smarter and safer?
Yes. Be patient. Be
Mm.
patient and know what you're looking for and wait until you get it. You're not going to die in the next few days.
Yeah.
You can wait an extra couple of days or weeks to find what you're looking for and you'll end up in a lot happier place. Stand true in yourself and what you're looking for and you'll end up in a good place.
Awesome.
Oh, and
Thank
also
you.
if
Yeah.
people want to check out Cray, the website is cray.app, cray.app. Or if they'd like to connect on LinkedIn, they can find me via my website, justinrsmith.com. It goes directly to my LinkedIn. So,
Oh, okay, awesome. And then it's both available on, because I'm not an Apple user, but it's available on Apple as
mhm.
well, correct? Okay, so it's
Yes,
available
it's
on
available
Apple
on
and
iOS,
Android.
Android, and there's a web version. So people can use it in any of those three ways. And the
Oh,
July update is going to be a complete graphical overhaul of the app and a bunch of new
ooh,
features like the photo scan, the base score, and I forget what the other one is. You can't take screenshots anymore in the app. So it's going to protect people's privacy so people
right.
can't go around, bad mouthing people and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So trying to put in those kind of things to make this a and there's an SOS button in it too. So
Oh,
I
nice.
am adding that. So if someone's on a date, scared, boom. If they get the runaway or consider leaving, it gives a pop up and offers to dial 911 if it's a runaway. So I'm really trying to put in all those different safety resources and catch points
Yeah,
so that
yeah, for
people can
sure.
really end up in a good situation.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, so for people who haven't downloaded the app yet and is just curious and just looking around, is Cray or are you on any social media accounts that we can follow so we can kind of like stay up to date on like updates on the app or anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, we have an Instagram, we have a TikTok. I even have a YouTube and a Facebook page, and
Nice.
there's one more I'm forgetting. But our username is usually Instagram, I think, but it's cray.app at
Okay.
cray.app. I try to make it all consistent. I
Consistent.
think one of
Yeah.
them doesn't. Yeah, one of them doesn't allow periods, so there's one I think that it doesn't have the period, but all the other ones do.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So yeah, I had such a lovely conversation with you, Justin. Thank you so much for joining me today and for, turning something so painful into something that is genuinely protecting people. I think that that matters so much in this world, that you chose to show up for not just yourself, but for everyone else.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I felt that it was something that needed to be done.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And yeah,
Well,
to those tuned in, as always, thank you for spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I know I did. Um, please subscribe on YouTube. I'm new on YouTube, so guys, please help me. Follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and drop a comment on whichever platform you're on. So now, I want to know, have you ever ignored a red flag and wished you hadn't? I'm sure there are a lot of people who are regretting that. So let's keep this conversation going and don't forget to download the Cray app. It's so fun. If you are a person who likes, those fun little quizzes online, you will enjoy using this app and it's going to be super useful for you too. So, yeah, with that, we'll see you on the next episode. Until then, sending love, life, and hope your way. Bye.